right, hey everyone, welcome back. Happy, what is today? Gosh, today's Tuesday already. So we got a couple things to cover today. I added Cango to the minor list I'm covering here because we're going to have, obviously, CORZ Scientific leave us eventually. We're going to have also, well, Bitfarms not reporting anymore, so we can probably take them out. Also, Hut 8 is not going to be reporting. We'll have to maybe add in American BTC when they do start reporting. If they start reporting, we'll add them in as well. So I figured we'll add Kango in. We'll get into Kango, how did they get started? What are they doing now? What do they have? And all that stuff as well. Hive also reported their June production update, so we'll take a look at that. That's looking really good for them. What else do we have here? We'll talk about possibly selling Bitcoin to buy more miners. Would that make any sense? I don't know. We'll talk about it here. Give you guys my thoughts on it. And what else do we have here? We got well, there was one more news story that I was going to cover with you guys, but I forgot to put it into the nest here, at least into the tabs. So we'll cover that maybe tomorrow, but it's just another company that's buying Bitcoin here, okay? So that's all we got. We'll get into Q&A at the end of it all. And as always, you guys know the drill here. Not financial advice. For time only, do your own research. Full disclosure below that. Hit the like button. Helps me out tremendously. And let's get into what's going on here with Bitcoin. So Bitcoin and the miners were kind of, well, Bitcoin was up. Miners were actually in the mix a little bit here. Ethereum was up as well today, but they're both down now in the new day. So Bitcoin finished out the day today up just a little bit here, 0.64%. It closed at 108,958. It's basically flat line for Bitcoin here recently. Not much price movement here actually, which is kind of good. Maybe we got a little coil spring happening action on it, and maybe we'll eventually bounce off of this. We'll see. Right now it's just in no man's land. It's not doing anything, so it's kind of boring right now with Bitcoin as it is. But the miners still are doing actually pretty good, all things considered here. Ethereum was also up a little bit here today, right? We got definitely a lot more companies getting into the Ethereum phase as well. So Ethereum was up, not too bad, up 2.92%. It closed at 2,616 here. And then the markets were kind of mixed as well. Dow Jones was down, NASDAQ was up a little bit, and the S&P was down just a little bit as well. As far as the miners were concerned here, Bitfarms was basically flat on the day at 0% gains here. BitDeer was down 3.39%. Cango, we added this one today. That one was up 5.54%. It's looking pretty good here actually right now. It's getting back to where it was a couple of times here. So if it can break above this, it might actually go up higher here. And we'll talk about it, whether I think it's undervalued or overvalued. We'll talk about all that. And bear with me a second here. I got to turn off my water here and furnace. Hold on. All right, sorry about that. Otherwise, that was going to be going on and it was going to be driving me nuts here. So I had to turn those things off here. I do these shows in my little dungeon of a basement here, so I have all the mechanical stuff in here as well. All right. So we'll talk about Kango in a little bit here. Cypher was up nicely today, 4.15%. Cleanspark was up a little bit as well, 2.38%, starting to kind of bounce back up a little bit here. At least it was up higher, then it came back down. CORZ was down another 5.46%. My dad and I were talking about it today, and he's thinking about maybe selling a portion of it to put into other miners, possibly like Cypher or IREN. Even and he already has Cleanspark there, and he's up nicely on Cleanspark, so he's looking to diversify a little bit more into those two possibly there. But we're still in discussions on that one because right now CORZ, you kind of know where it's going to be more or less. And the only way it's going to go up is if the value of CoreWeave actually goes up, and then how long will it take CoreWeave to do even better from there, right? So could the miners here in the short term, the next 6 months, outperform CoreWeave and CORZ? Possibly. So that's kind of the thought process there, at least right now. Okay, so there's a little update on that. Hive was down 2.2% today. Hut 8 was down 1.46%. IREN was down for the first time in a long time. Since, let's see here, this is going back to June 18th. We've had nothing but green days here on IREN. And we finally got our first red day here. It was down just a little bit here, 0.35% on the day. So maybe a little correction happening here on that one. That's kind of maybe stalled out here a little bit. I tried going up today again, but then it came back down. So maybe around $18 or so is our resistance here for it. We'll see. Mara was up nicely today, 4.6% on the day. Riot was up just a little bit, 0.17%. Wolf was up 0.42%. And then MicroStrategy was up just a little bit here, 0.32. Coin was down 0.64. Metaplanet was down 1.41. Similar was up nicely, 7% here. That one's still kind of bouncing around here a little bit. What else do we have here? GameStop was up just a little bit. Small miners, Any was up a little bit, 2%. Argo was up 10% for some reason. BitDigital, again, was up 7.47% on the day, up even higher, then came back down a little bit here. So that one's doing actually really good there. DigiPower, it was down 6.83%. DMG was up a little bit. Mawson was up a little bit. Cango was up 3% as well. And then the ETF miners were up just a little bit. And actually BitQ was down a little bit, maybe flat on the day overall. So not too bad. But looking at the miners here right now in the after hours, what do we got here? Bitdeer's up a little bit, 0.87%. Bitfarms is up 0.96%, almost 1% there. Cypher is down 0.5%. Cleanspark is flat right now as it is. CORZ Scientific is up just a little bit, 0.29%. Hive is up 1.35%. Hut 8 is flat. IREN up a little bit, 0.65%. Mawson is actually down 0.11%. Riot is up 0.61%. And TeraWolf is actually down 1.24% on the day as it is. So that's where we stand. And Bitcoin for the month of July is only up 1.58% so far. We still have a ways to go in July. We'll see where Bitcoin actually ends up at. I'd love to see much better gains on it than what we are seeing right now, right? Historically, in the nice bull runs, we've been up 18% in 2021. 2017, we were up 17%, so I'd like to see us at least be somewhere around there, around maybe 10 to 15% on the gains for July, but we'll see where we end up at. I still think we're going to go up. It's just a matter of time now with it. Bitcoin ETF inflows continue to come in. For yesterday, we had BlackRock buying another 164 million. Total inflows was 216 million on that. And then today we're up 8.5 million without BlackRock reported yet. So once they do report, we'll get that number. I'm guessing it's going to be probably in the positive here as well for that. All right, so there's that portion of it. Let's get into why I'm thinking about, well, this is an idea that I had today. So I thought we kind of talk about it here. And I posted the question to you guys as well. Would you guys be willing to sell Bitcoin to buy Bitcoin mining stocks? And right now, 68% of you would say no. You're obviously going to hold on to your Bitcoin and possibly invest in mining stocks. Otherwise, it was something else. But it got me thinking today as well, just looking at the action of the miners here recently since the basically bottom of them when we bottomed out in April. And we started seeing pretty nice action here in the miners. So my thought process was, would it make sense to actually sell some Bitcoin or sell all my Bitcoin that I do have, and then buy the miners here where they could possibly do better than Bitcoin does in the next 6 months, and then sell those guys and buy back into Bitcoin at that point, but be buying it at a higher price. So it doesn't really make sense that much. I mean, unless you're getting huge gains on the miners where you're getting, if Bitcoin goes up 2x and the miners would have to go at least 4x, right, to make it make sense at that point. But that is definitely very challenging and very risky also. So because Bitcoin could go down, miners would go down even worse. So with that being said, here's the thought process that I had for it here really quick. I just looked at the performance of the miners here compared to Bitcoin here. Not this one, I wanted this one. Over the last couple time frames that we always look at here, right? We're seeing that the miners are starting to perform better here, at least in the last couple months since the bottoming out in April, more or less, since the tariffs were introduced. But you can see here that Marathon from the beginning of where they bottomed out in end of 2022, early 2023, Bitcoin's up 527%. You still have Cypher and IREN outperforming it quite nicely. And you got some of the other miners now catching up to Bitcoin here a little bit, right? At least some of these guys here, like Cleanspark, Marathon, even Hut 8 as well, are catching up to it. If we look at from the beginning of last year, from 1/2/2024, we can see that Bitcoin's up 130%. We got still IREN and CORZ Scientific outperforming at that point. Some of the miners are still a little behind that. If we look at from the beginning of the second half of last year, we got Bitcoin being up the best right now, 66%, right? Everybody else is underperforming there. And then price from the beginning of the fourth quarter in 2024, you got Bitcoin being up 71, almost 72%, and you got a couple of miners outperforming here since then. And then from the beginning of this year, you got Bitcoin being up only about 8% or so. And you got Riot outperforming a little bit. Cleanspark outperforming it nicely, about a 2x on it, almost 3x. Cypher, same thing here. And IREN, obviously, way outperforming it right now. But then when you look at price difference from when the Trump tariffs were introduced back in April 2nd, we can see that Bitcoin from that time frame is only up 26%, while majority of the miners have outperformed Bitcoin here. You got IREN being up 149%, Cypher 127%, Core being up 66, Hut being up 56%, Cleanspark up 44, along with Riot, and Marathon being at 41 there, and Hive being up almost 38% as well. So, and BitTier 33%. So that's kind of what got me thinking, like, would it make sense to actually sell Bitcoin at this point and buy into some of these miners where they might outperform Bitcoin here in the next 6 months, right? So that was my thought process there. I kind of went through it as like, what are the positives, what are the negatives? And there was definitely more negatives to doing that than there would be positives, I think. Everything would have to line up perfectly for that to work out nicely in my advantage at that point. So not to mention the gains that I have to pay on the Bitcoin if I sold it. So there's a lot of negatives to doing that. So just wanted to post that question to you guys as well. And then I saw also in the past, some people were doing that where they're either selling Bitcoin, buying miners, hedging their bets, getting 2x on some of the stuff, and buying back Bitcoin on the end of it. So just something to talk about there, okay? Just some thoughts that I had rolling in my head. All right, let's get into first one that we're going to have at bat here is Cango. I got most of the data in. I'm only missing the data for the quarterly results. And if we look at Cango here, this is the investor relations page here. Cango is a new up-and-comer here that has started buying up miners, ASIC miners from Bitmain and others since November of last year. They are currently at 32 exahash right now. They have signed a final deal here to get to 50 exahash, which should be happening here in July for them. But here's what we have on them. So here's the company profile. So Cango is primarily engaged in the Bitcoin mining business with operations strategically deployed across North America, the Middle East, South America, and East Africa. The company entered the crypto asset space in November of 2024, driven by advancements in blockchain technology. I don't know what advancements they're talking about there. I'm guessing just the ASICs. I mean, not much has changed in Bitcoin. The growing adoption of digital assets and its commitment to diversifying its business portfolio. Okay, so that's all good and great. In parallel, Cango continues to operate an online international used car export business through Cango, making it easier for global customers to access high-quality vehicle inventory from China. So I was under the impression that they were going to divest themselves of that part of the business, but I could be wrong. Maybe this hasn't been updated in a while here. But I thought that's what they were going to do. Correct me if I'm wrong here, if you guys know about this one or not. Okay, so looking at the PowerPoint presentation from their Q1 earnings here report, here's what they have for us here. Total revenue was 145.2 million for Q1. Right, I'm not counting Q4 there because they were basically somewhere in the middle of November when they started purchasing these mining machines. And all of their miners are hosted with somebody else. So they don't own any infrastructure behind it. So that's kind of why we're going to see a little bit higher cost to mine than we see with some of the other companies here, but we're also seeing higher cost to mine with even some of the companies that do own their infrastructure and also host with others, but we'll talk about that. So that's kind of where they are right now as of Q1. Q2 they're going to report obviously later on here, probably in August sometime. I do have the data pulled in for their monthly updates since January, so we're going all the way back from January to now, so we have basically 6 months of data on them. What else do we have here? Let's see, here it is. The average cost to mine Bitcoin, excluding depreciation, was $70,602. Right, that is a result of cost per coin includes energy costs and hosting fees. As you're hosting with somebody, you're always going to pay a little bit higher fee there for that, and you also don't have as much control over as you would if you own the infrastructure there. All right, so that's kind of the downside of it. Also, them being a Chinese-based company, right? I don't know how accurate the data is. We have seen in the past that Chinese companies have fidged on the numbers a little bit. So take it with a grain of salt a little bit there. And that's kind of why I've been hesitant to include them in here in my numbers as well. But like we talked about, 145.2 million in revenue here. They have, let me see here, 70,000 per coin. What else do we have here? All right, operation side of things. 32 exahash deployed as of Q1. This was the same that they had at the end of June as well. On average, they're operating about 30 exahash or so, 4% of the global hash rate there. Average fleet efficiency was 21.5 joules per terahash, and they have about 735 megawatts of hosting capacity, right? So this sounds a little, what's the word I'm looking for? A little disingenuous, I guess you could say, maybe, hosting capacity, because it sounds like they're hosting it, so it should be, they really don't have the capacity. It's just they're hosting their leasing out, I guess, the space there, I guess would be a better way to put it maybe, on that one. All right. This is their worldwide hash rate and capacity layout. So they got Canada 1%, 5 megawatts hosting capacity there. They got about 0.2 exahash deployed hash rate there. In the USA, they got 38%, 275 megawatts hosting capacity, 12.2 exahash deployed hash rate. Paraguay, 9%, 63 megawatts with 2.9 exahash. East Africa, 278 megawatts, 11.9 exahash, a lot there. Oman as well, 15%, 114 megawatts hosting capacity, 4.9 exahash deployed as it is right now. Mining machine overview. So this was actually kind of nice that they provided this. They have about 136,000 machines. That's kind of what I used there. And they put down that they have 80%, around 80% is the S19 XP Hydro. So I was able to kind of figure out more or less what those machines are running at the hash rate. And then they got 20% of a mixture of S19 XPs and S19J XPs. Those are around 21 joules per terahash, almost 22, I think. And then these over here, the S19 XPs are around 20.7, 20.8 joules per terahash roughly. On that one. Bitcoin long-term holding strategy. So ever since they started mining in November, they've been hodling it all the way through June here even. They haven't sold anything, it looks like. BTC mining first quarter highlights. You guys can take a look at this. We're not going to get into it here, but they're comparing themselves to other miners here. We can kind of figure out who the miners are. It's mostly Marathon, Cleanspark, and IREN as well. On that one. Comparative data as well. You can take a look at that. And then here's the first quarter financial performance. I still have to pull in all that data for them. So I'll do that probably tomorrow when I have time. So I'll get that in. But total revenues was 145.2. Cost of revenues 131.6. Gross profit 13.6. Gross profit margin 9.4%. Sales marketing was 0.06 million. General and administrative was 12.8 million. Research and development was 0.04. Adjusted beta was 3.8 million on that part of it. So you can see how that all came into play. Okay, let's see here. What else do we have here? Management remarks. Let's see. Okay, here we go. We expect to add another 18 exahash by the end of July, which they have done that. We have that in their July update. And then looking ahead, we will continue to maximize efficiency, explore high-quality M&A opportunities to further scale our mining operations. Definitely would like to see them start buying up sites. Asset light is you can do that in the beginning, but you really need to have more control over it. And the best way to do that is to buy your own sites, and that's what I would love to see them do going forward here. Okay, so there's just a brief overview of them. On that one, here's their latest update that we have for June here. They mined 450 Bitcoin here. The total number of Bitcoins held was 3,879.2. Sold, didn't sell anything. Deployed hash rate 32 exahash. Average operating hash rate was 29, almost 30 exahash here on the month there. So obviously some curtailing happening here as well. And then down here we see they also announced it on the June 27th here. The company also announced that it has completed the previously announced acquisition of on-rack crypto mining machines with an aggregate hash rate of 18 exahash per second. On June 27th, the acquisition now brings Kango's total hash rate to 50 exahash. So now we got 3 miners basically at 50 exahash. We got, well, 4 really, because Mara's at like 56, 57 exahash. But you got Mara, you got Cleanspark, IREN, and now you got Cango as well at 50 exahash. The difference here again is Kango's asset light. They don't own any infrastructure. And that could be, I mean, it's great starting out, but long run, I don't think it's a great way to go. So we'll see if they pivot from that eventually, like Mara did eventually as well, going forward, and start buying up infrastructure, depending obviously on the profitability and things like that. So that's kind of what we have here for them. And if we look at the numbers that I do have here for them right now, shares outstanding, this is what I was able to figure out. They have about 177 million shares outstanding right now. Let me know if you guys have something different for it. This is the latest data that I could figure out and calculate. So I might be off by a little bit on this, but this is kind of what I was going with. That gives them a market cap of about 944 million. Stock price at $5.33 as of today. Their performance in the last 12 weeks has been actually pretty good, right? Last week they were up 17.5% or 17.75%. From 4 weeks ago, they're up just a little bit, 0.8%. From 12 weeks ago, they're up 15.7%. And from 12 weeks ago, they're up 46.8%. So kind of in line with what we're seeing with some of the other miners as well doing right now. Current hash rate of about 32, right? It's kind of, I'm rounding it up. I got about 31.7, but probably need to adjust the numbers here a little bit more. Future hash rate, I do have that added in there, the additional 18 exahash that they are bringing online as well. So that should be here in July. So they'll be fully installed at that point. BTC HODL, probably need to update this number here because that is not correct. Let me see here. This equals down here. Where is it at? There it is. Okay. So there's their HODL. Okay. So that HODL there is valued at 422 million, right? So that's 44.7% of their market cap is their HODL position right now. As it is, in each share has about $2.38 in it. All right. As far as production is concerned here, their best month looks like it was in January. Potentially, I don't know. I didn't go far enough back to December. November, like I said, was basically a half a month or something like that, so I didn't even count that. But based on what I have here, January was the best, 538. March was the second best, and then it's been coming down here as time progresses, right? They've been basically stuck at 32 exahash here for the last 6 months, plus a little bit. And as a result, you're going to see a decline in the production of Bitcoin as the network hash rate continues to go up, right? So I've talked about this in the past as well. Their best month for production and revenue-wise was January, 53.82 million, and it's been coming down, as you have seen here, with Bitcoin price coming down as well. We've had a nice little bounce here in May, back up to 50 million, and then June back down a little bit to 47.62 million. Bitcoin HODL, as you can see, has continued to increase on them. Bitcoin sold here. I'm showing that they sold like 0.1 Bitcoin here. I'm guessing it's just a rounding error on maybe my end here, more or less. So that they haven't sold anything there. And then their BTC per exahash efficiency has been kind of all over the place here each month. January was at 17 high, but it's been coming down for other miners as well. In June, they ended up at 14.2 here, looks like. And like I said, the quarterly results and stuff like that, that's going to be coming in later on. We'll have at least Q1. Q2 is going to, and well, we're done with Q2, so we'll get that data later on. And then that'll help me fill out some of this data here for them as well. We'll get into some of these numbers here in a second. Institutions, what I was able to find on them is there's 51 institutions in them right now with about 30.4 million shares. That represents about 21.69% of the shares owned by institutions. And analysts, I don't have any analysts. I couldn't find any analysts for them. If you guys have any analysts on them, let me know. But right now, there's no analysts covering them, so there are no ratings on them as far as buy, hold, or anything, and price targets on them. All right. Okay, going down here. So like we talked about the miners that they do have here. We have the S19XP Hydros, the S19XP, the S19J XPs. We know what those are more or less and the amounts roughly. So we were able to figure that out quite nicely here, pretty close to that. I could probably bump these guys up. Well, I won't do it now because it's going to mess with my numbers here. But eventually I'll get it. I think going forward, we'll have the numbers at 50 exahash that they're supposed to have there. So that's from the June report here. We don't know which miners there are, what type they are. So I'm just estimating that those are going to be maybe the same as the S19XP Hydros. Could be, could be not be, could be something else. Don't know. But that's kind of what I'm using there, at least for the time being on it. All right, so based on that, everything worked out pretty well. They were mining for about 27.46 days out of the month. That accounted for the revenue of 47.62 million here, which would coincide with what we have here as well, based on the average price of Bitcoin, right? So that all works out pretty good. All right, going up here, valuation side of things, the last 3 quarters, we don't have data on that. All we have is the Q1 data and the Q2 data that right now that is estimated, at least on my side. So what I did is I took those 2 quarters and multiplied it times 2 more or less to see where they could possibly be at, and that would put them at a P of 5. I put them at a P of 5 lower than most because they don't own any infrastructure, right? I don't know if they're going to catch any benefit for not owning any infrastructure. I think it's going to be a detriment actually to their stock price because they're going to be very asset light on that. So there's really no value in it other than depreciating machines over time, right? So if we look at that, again, between $8 and $12 here, if we look at June numbers or June figures, June revenue times the 12 months going forward, we're looking still around $8 to $12 more or less on it right now, as it is. So are they undervalued? Yeah, a little bit. And could they get a higher PE ratio going forward? Maybe, right? Bitcoin goes up higher. Maybe that could help them catch a little bit higher there. But based on, like I said, them being asset light, I kind of put them down a little bit lower here. So that's kind of where I would see them being fairly valued at. And let me know if you guys agree with, lowering the PE value on them a little bit or not. But yeah, so we'll cover them going forward here. Like I said, Bitfarms is no longer reporting monthly updates, so they're going to be gone. CORZ is going to be gone as well in a couple months. I mean, they're already pretty much gone. They're not reporting that anyways, but they're at least providing the daily updates so we can kind of figure out what they're mining there. So we'll talk about CORZ probably tomorrow. And who else is going to be gone? Hut 8 as well. They're not really reporting anything else as far as Bitcoin mining production is concerned. So they're going to be off the table as well. So I figured, okay, let's get Cango in here, right? They're a big miner. Let's talk about them. And then we'll see who else we can add in here that's at least going to be, 10 to 15 exahash and higher to add into this list that we track right now as it is. All right, but that's it on Cango. Let me know what you guys thought of it, if you guys are invested in it or not. And like I see in the comments, T-Bone is asking about Fufu. Yeah, I might add Fufu as well in there if I can find, obviously, the monthly updates and things like that. That's one of my criteria. So we'll definitely add that one in if it does have it in there. So I'll put it on my list to do. Thanks for pointing that one out. Fairfax says this Kango sounds sketchy. Right, that's Chinese based, right? So you got to be a little more skeptical, I think, than otherwise you would with US based stocks. Add Fufu. Okay. Wrote that down in my notes. We'll add that in a day or two, or sometime later on this week, depending when I have time. All right, let's get into Hive here really quick as well. Hive is doing really, really well here recently. So Hive Digital Technologies surges 18% in monthly Bitcoin production as Phase 2 Paraguay expansion launches on track for 25 exahash and 12 BTC per day run rate by end of the year here, year end. So here's what we have. Hive is pleased to report 18% increase in Bitcoin production in June compared to May 2025 as it continues its aggressive global scale-up strategy. And it is very nice increase in hash rate that they are doing this year. With the launch of Phase 2 in Paraguay, management of Hive believes that it has clear runway to hyperscale up to 25 exahash by American Thanksgiving. So we're looking by November 20-something. There. Already delivering 11.4 exahash in June, the company has nearly doubled its hash rate since the end of March and is executing the most ambitious growth plans in the company's history. That is true, right? I've been covering Hive since, I've been in Hive. I invested in Hive in 2017, 2018, and I started talking about them, obviously, when I first started doing this channel, going back to, 2021? 2020? I can't remember now. It's been a long time that I've been doing this here. So their growth in the past has been lackadaisical, to say the least. But now the ambition to get to 25 exahash is excellent. I love seeing that. I love seeing the growth here. It's finally happening for them. So that's great. All right, Phase 2 launch accelerates momentum here. So Hive is excited to announce the official launch of Phase 2, second 100 megawatt at its hydro-powered Guaguza facility in Paraguay. As of today, 0.4 exahash per second of the new machines are already hashing. More than 5% of the total potential Phase 2 capacity with rapid deployments to continue throughout the summer. Once fully energized, Phase 2 will generate approximately 6.5 exahash from next generation Bitmain S21 plus hydro miners, pushing Hive's global fleet efficiency to an industry-leading 18.5 joules per terahash. I don't think it's industry-leading, but it's definitely up there, right? It's definitely much better than where they were when they started out. They were at like 31, 32, 33 joules per terahash when they were starting out just a year and a half ago. So that's good to see there. Bitcoin produced 164 versus 139 in May, so that's nice. Fleet efficiency right now is down to 20 joules per terahash, which is also good here. And then what else do we have here? That is it. We already covered the Buzz HPC expands sovereign AI footprint in Canada. We talked about it when they reported that, so I'm not going to get into it here. They have been using the ATM here. Looks like they issued 38.1 million shares since, not sure since when. For the 3 months period the company issued, so for Q2 basically, they added 38.1 million shares on there through the ATM program. Okay, so definitely some dilution happening there, but at least they're growing here. I love seeing that part of it. So let's take the numbers that we do have here for Hive really quick, and then we'll get into Q&A. So Hive has right now, well, last reported at least was 165 million. So if you add in another 30 some odd million, they're looking at close to 200 million of shares right now. That would give them a definitely much larger market cap, probably closer to, what would that be? 440 some odd million, right? Market cap, if that's the case. So we'll get that updated for them. Their performance the last 12 weeks has been actually pretty good here, right? 35% up from last week. From 4 weeks ago, they're up almost 15%. From 8 weeks ago, they're up 25.5%. And then from 12 weeks ago, they're up 56%. So much better there. Current hash rate 11.4. Future hash rate is going to be 25. I need to update this probably for the miners that they're getting there to get to 25, which are going to be S9, S21 Pro Hydros. I need to update that. HODL. I don't know about the HODL. They've stopped reporting the HODL for some reason. This is the last number that I have for them, which was 610. I'm not sure if they sold any or not. So it would be nice if they included that as well. They might have sold it. I don't know, right? But that's if they held on to at least that, they would have about 66 million there, and that would be about 18% of the company there, or 40 cents per each share. So not sure on that. I should probably just put that at 0 because they're not reporting it. We don't know on that one. Bitcoin production here has been increasing, which is nice as their hash rate has continued to grow, right? So April was 102 Bitcoin. May, nice jump, 139. June, nice jump again, 164. Result of that is hash rate growth, right? They came in from 6.8 exahash to 10.4 to 11.4 exahash. That's the result of having more hash rate. You're going to be generating more Bitcoin, which is nice to see there. Okay. Monthly revenue has also been increasing, which is nice to see. 17.36 million there for June here, looks like. And then Bitcoin HODL, like I said, they started selling right around February into March. And then April, it's like, okay, where's the rest of it? I just don't know. So take that for what it is. Bitcoin BTC per exahash efficiency, really good numbers here, 14.38. As always, for the most part, Hive has been one of the best when it comes to operational efficiency and uptime on the miners that they have running there. Bitcoin sold value, don't know what they sold, probably 17.36 million here. Quarterly results, we don't care about that. We'll talk about it when it actually does happen here. As far as institutional ratings here, I can delete this one. I keep 6 months data on it. I can delete that. That institutions did decrease a little bit here to 151, so one less. Shares did increase though to 40.18 million, but percentage of shares actually went down to 23.35. I think that's based on just dilution there on it. And we've seen that kind of happening here throughout a little bit as well as they've been diluting shares. We're seeing that percentage decrease on it. We do have now 6 strong buy ratings instead of the 5, and we have now 2 buy ratings instead of the 3. So they kind of switched over from a buy to a strong buy here. High price target says from the analyst we have $11 for the high, $6.56 for the average, so that's down actually a little bit, and the low stayed the same at $4 there. The machines wise, where they operating during the month here, based on my calculations, about 28.6 days out of the month here, which is really good, and that definitely has helped with their efficiencies there. So came in 17.355 million, which I believe is the same as there. Yep, so that's kind of what we're looking at right now as it is. So based on those numbers from June here, multiply that times 12, we're looking at like $9.43 to $14.15, right? If we use the same PE multiple as we use for Cleanspark and IREN and Cypher and all the rest. But they're at only $2.22. So they are still, in my opinion, way, way undervalued, right? So why are they undervalued the way they are right now? The only thing I can think of is not having any infrastructure in the United States potentially, right? A lot of this stuff is in Canada, out in Europe as well, and down in Paraguay, Argentina also. So that's the only thing I can think of why the stock is not performing well, to be honest. Could be also the dilution, right? The ATM pulling, that always hurts the stock a little bit as well. So maybe once they stop doing that, the stock can actually breathe there and actually go up quite nicely. We'll see. Other than that, they have been doing really well here in the last, I would say, 6 months or so. Love the growth that they are having. So I'm rooting for them to do well. And they're definitely one of the OGs here in the market. They were like one of the first ones to go public, as it is. So want them to succeed, want them to do well, and we'll see how they continue to go forward from there. All right. That is it. That's all I got. As always, spreadsheets available to Patreon members. Link for that is down in the description of the videos, as always. And a couple bucks a month. And you also get access to our private Discord server there as well. All right, so there's my sales pitch. Let's get into Q&A here, so what you guys have to say, and we'll call it a day. So, all right, as always, questions. If you could preface those with a question mark or a Q, that would be wonderful. And I'm going to scroll my way up and work my way down as always, so I will get to your guys' questions here eventually. Just be patient. All right. Fairfax says, I would not buy miners with BTC, but am buying miners with cash. Yeah, so, I mean, it seems like 61% of people agree with you there, right? They wouldn't sell Bitcoin to do that. Okay. Question is, SBET a good buy at 16? How high? And then next question, SBET. SBET is the one that's doing the Ethereum treasury, right? My understanding is correct there. Let me see here. Do I have SBET in here? SBET. SharpLink Gaming. Yeah, they're the ones that went all in on Ethereum there, right? With was that with Tom Lee here, I believe? Well, that one's definitely come way down here in the last. Okay, let's take a look at this. You guys need to see this. I haven't been paying attention to this one. This is on the daily here. This looks like a crazy chart here. It definitely went way, way high, $124, and it came back down to $16. I don't know enough about this one, so I can't comment on whether it's a good time to buy into it or not right now. Yeah, I'm going to have to look into this one, see what the heck. I mean, this one definitely went on a wild ride here. All right, so yeah, sorry. I wish I could tell you one way or another, but I just don't know enough about that one. All right, and then SK asks how high BitDigital can go. Well, I mean, if you run the numbers on it here, they have over 100,000 Ethereum, so that's valued at about 250 some odd million, right? 260 some odd million, more or less, on it. So, and the valuation of the stock right now is about 1 billion. They also have a white fiber there. You can forget about the Bitcoin mining side of the business because that's going away. But they have white fiber that's going to be transitioning over to its own publicly traded company. That's generating about $100 to $150 million potentially next year sometime. So what does that give you on it? What kind of multiple can you give on it? Can you give it like a 9x multiple on that? If you look at other data center plays, potentially, right? But that's going to be spun off into a separate thing. So the only thing that really leaves BitDigital with is the Ethereum HODL there, which valued at 250 million. You're giving it a 4x premium right now as it is. So I don't know how much higher it can go. It can possibly still go up a little bit higher because there's definitely a lot of interest in companies that are hodling right now Ethereum as it is. So yeah, I don't know on that one. It could go higher or could flatline here a little bit and come back down for a pullback. I'm not sure. All right. Neville, if Bitfarms is neither expanding or making their mining more efficient, how in the world do they intend to earn money to keep the lights on through 2026 without a deal? Well, Bitcoin price going up, right? So if Bitcoin price goes up, they're going to be able to generate more revenue just on the stuff that they do have. Yes, they're going to generate less Bitcoin as time goes on, as the network hash rate goes up. But as Bitcoin goes up faster than the network hash rate percentage-wise, they're going to be able to still generate more revenue on that. So that's the way it actually works out. So they could definitely keep the lights on longer depending on where Bitcoin goes. So if Bitcoin goes into an extended cycle where we go into maybe next year like 300,000 in Bitcoin or something like that, who knows, that would help them out. Right? It would not help them out if Bitcoin goes down, but it wouldn't also help any of the miners out at that point. So they can still survive even without a deal here for a while longer. All right, SK has another question here. Has IREN started to correct? It doesn't seem to go any higher as it was a few days back. It has seemed to reach some kind of a top, or a local top at least, around $18 or so. But we'll see if they can break through it. If it can't break through it, we might be going in for a correction, or they come out with an announcement of a deal or something like that, right? And the stock continues to rally up higher. Just don't know. Yeah, it's definitely had a huge run up here, and a little correction would probably be a good thing for it, I think. Let's see. Fairfax says, I don't know who told me about BitDigital last week, but thank you. Okay, yeah, if you got into it last week, I was kind of a little bit negative on it, to be honest. I would have liked to have seen them go with the Bitcoin strategy, but right now the Ethereum strategy seems to be working. All right, let's see. Now, IREN broke $18 today for a bit. If it corrects, it won't go down to that price. Those who missed out hope it goes too. You'll still be paying a higher price, in my opinion. Yeah, depending, right? How far does it correct? Does it go down to maybe $16 to correct? I don't know. Or it just continues to go back up. All right. Dynamite Uber, did you hear that BitDigital shareholders won't get shares of White Fiber when it IPOs? That's what Sam Tabar said in a previous interview. I thought he said that they would get shares. Yeah, the shareholders would get shares. Okay, yeah. I heard the same thing, that they would get shares of that, whatever that valuation is of it, and they spin it off. So, yeah, you would have both. And maybe that's why the stock is going up too as well, because of that. Let's see. Neville says, I don't think BTC will move any higher until the S&P gets breathing room to rip. So while sometimes Bitcoin does go up without the S&P. But I think we got to get an updated chart on the M2 supply in relation to Bitcoin, right? Where's Bitcoin at right now? If you offset it by, what was it, like 8,700 some odd days, they followed pretty doggone closely there. So I think we're still going to be going up here. Rogue Koala says, I wouldn't sell BTC for miners. My BTC is going to buy me a house and not willing to risk it. Depends on your risk tolerance levels. Absolutely, yeah. That's why I said if you look at the positives and negatives of doing that, the only positive that you have is is if Bitcoin actually goes up and the miners do rip nicer than Bitcoin does, right? But there's a lot more downside to it. Andre's got a question. What's going to happen to the CORZ warrants? I believe they're going to vest over. They got to vest, right? I mean, they got to be able to get those things converted over once the deal goes through. So you'll get a portion, I guess, of core Weave shares at that point based on those things as well. I would think so, at least. Fairfax says this Kango sounds sketchy. T-Bone yet talked about Fufu. We'll get that. We'll add that in as well. Let's see. Daniel, question. Don't you think holding Ethereum treasury-based companies is a good complement, diversification to our BTC miners? Imagine when Ethereum moves to all-time high, where SBET, BitDigital will be early opportunity. That's if Ethereum goes to a new all-time high here. If you look at the performance for Bitcoin and Ethereum over the last, I would say, a year, even to 2 years, something like that, Bitcoin has way outperformed Ethereum here. So can Ethereum still get back up there? That I don't know. Fairfax says, is it too late on SBET? That I don't know. Let's see. Daniel says, Fairfax, absolutely not. Still early NAV, only 2x. SBET will be the best leverage play on Ethereum. Ethereum is just starting its rise compared to BTC. Okay, time will tell on that one, right? Okay. Let's see. Fairfax says, I'm playing with house money on BitDigital, so maybe I'll add some SBET. I mean, you guys can definitely try this stuff out. Sarman says, do not buy Chinese stocks. That's kind of what I prefaced there, right? Chinese, you got to be careful there a little bit. Spin Record says, Spin Second Serve says, Chinese can be trusted. Not. All right. Okay. All right, Fairfax, BMNR or SBET, yeah, that I don't know. I got to do some more research on those guys here. And maybe we'll pull a shoot together for what they have in HODL position and where's the stock at and where's it valued based on their MNAV of that. Sermon says China cannot be trusted. Yeah, it's tough, right? So, okay. Spin Second Serve says, like the channel for S-Man. Appreciate it. Thank you. Sermon says Ethereum is trash. Ethereum is not trash. I think it has great utility potential going forward, and maybe when that utility is utilized. I mean, we're seeing already Robinhood using Ethereum as well for, oh gosh, what do they call that? Where they're not staking, it's the other part. Where they're tokenizing the assets on Ethereum there. So maybe when that goes through and it's promising and does well, that could maybe help out the price of Ethereum there as well. All right, Sarah's got a question here. When is BTC going to start rocketing again? Yeah, I mean, everybody's waiting with bated breath right now, right? When is Bitcoin going to start going up? I mean, you got all these companies buying up and everything else. It's like, but Bitcoin's still flat. So eventually, there's going to be a time where the sellers are out, and all you have is buyers left, and it's going to make it definitely have the price go up here. But we'll see. All right. Okay. So that is all I got for you guys. Looks like I got up to all your guys' questions here. Kind of nice, short show today. 45 minutes, not too bad. We'll see where things go tomorrow, right? We'll see where the miners go tomorrow. We'll see where IREN goes tomorrow. We'll see where everything else happens with Bitcoin and all that stuff here. So I think still the next 6 months is going to be great for us. It's just going to be a bumpy ride, as always. But that's kind of what I'm hoping for. Fingers crossed, right? That we do very well here in the next 6 months because we definitely need it there. All right, but that's it. All right, love you all. Hope you guys had a great night. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of the week as well. And I will see you guys tomorrow. All right, have a great night. Till then,